Okay, welcome to Stampscaping 101. This is a piece of gold holographic cardstock, okay? It's a foil and it has these really cool different color schemes throughout the surface in that holographic style. Really great for lighting, okay? But it's not great for, let's say, coloring with our traditional card making media, alcohol inks, pastels, dye-based inks for sure, or something as simple as colored pencils, okay? Because things just will not stick to foil, okay? It's not, a surface that's, designed for that type of media application. I'm going to try using it with some traditional media now. After stamping out my imagery right here, we have the Mystic Hill trees right and the Seaside Cove small. And I have spray sealed it with a workable fixative. Okay, it's kind of a satiny, or they call it matte, but it's in this case it's a little bit more satiny. And I've sprayed a pretty heavy, amount of it right in here and over the Seaside Cove. Okay, I'm going to first try my colored pencils on here just to see if some of it will adhere. I mean, maybe not. I doubt it. I don't see it applying at all here, at least with this pencil. Let me try it with a soft, reasonably soft black pencil here. Workable fixatives, I mean, when you lay it down onto like a matte piece of paper or something like that, it makes it possible for you to go back in there with whatever media you're using and to apply more of it. But it seems like this surface is just too slick, even with a more satiny type of application of media, or sealant, really, applied on top. It looks like this black is actually applying a little bit. It looks like about that amount of it. And let me go a little bit harder here. Yeah, I don't know. I might be mistaken here. This black colored pencil might be able to apply a darker, thicker amount. Okay. We're in business here. Maybe. I mean, it's to an extent. Let me see if I can show you. I don't know if you can see it, but do you see this like light haze of a kind of shadow down here? I mean, it's a little bit darker than the rest of it, right? It's not just, I mean, some of this is the imagery, but you can see that little bit of gray scale in there, okay? And let me see if I can bring it out just a touch. I mean, it's not, this isn't like a game changer here, but just being able to apply a little bit like that, it might be good for some different refinements here. I'm adding some underneath my waves. Okay. I'm basically darkening in the darker area of the image, okay, the Seaside Cove. So we have lighter kind of cresting waves, the little spindrift coming off the top, and so I'm just adding a little bit more tone underneath it, and it looks pretty decent. I mean, I'd like to be able to add more of this, but it's just not going to adhere. I mean, this is a really thick surface, I mean, a slick surface. So you can see underneath my waves, I'm just kind of darkening them in a little bit, and you get a little bit more volume that way, a little bit more kind of a three-dimensional view of the in this case the waves. They're more modeled now, when you use value and shadow to define your forms, okay, as opposed to them looking like, closer to an outline or something like that. I have volumes. I use a lot of value and volumes in my drawing technique too, but this is just going in and adding a lot more of grayscale, you know, because when you do designs, you have to do it in what they call line art. It's either black or white, but this is like adding some grayscale tones in here. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. I think that worked out not too bad. Okay, see, I've added this shadow underneath here. Okay, so things, I mean, we're still being very much influenced by the paper. All right, in that all these colors are showing right through here. But let's go in here. I mean, this is an experiment here, so let's try and utilize some colors on the top of this sealant. Okay, now I'm not coloring so much on the foil, the cardstock with these, or the colored pencil. I'm coloring. You're really coloring spray fixative that has been layered on the top of this. But okay, so that being said, the pens here have the potential of kind of eating through maybe some of that sealant. I don't know. Because it is alcohol, and you know, like alcohol is like a solvent, you know, so it could potentially dissolve something that has already been applied. I don't know. I know that if I do this directly on top of the StazOn inks, you know, it would really just wipe that color right off, or the well, in this case, the black. But on this one here, so far so good. I mean, it probably depends on kind of the degree by which, you know, the amount of which you add. So you can see that blue in there. I'm adding that right underneath those waves. Now this is, you know, this is a fairly dark blue, so I'm not adding too much of it. I'm just adding a little bit because I want to see if I can blend that out with my lighter colors of blue. So this is what I probably should have tried out yesterday, but I was unaware of the the ink compatibility and you know, basically every issue that goes into this combination of media here. Okay, so I'm trying to blend out that blue. That blue is kind of, it's tacked down there a lot harder than I thought it would. I thought it would be sitting on the surface of that workable fixative and just blend right out, but it really isn't. It's locked down on the surface. Not, you know, pretty good. That's good in that it has adhered and it's really firmly affixed, but I wouldn't mind being able to spread it around a little bit more, but I think the spray fixative is really locking it down, because these alcohol inks on just about anything else would, you know, be something that I can manipulate quite a bit. I was worried that just going into it with the lighter pen right here might just completely lift it off, but it's pretty well affixed. I don't even know if I'm really doing very much blending at all. Let me try a little bit of a that pen right there was probably a little bit dry. I don't know, not completely dry, but yeah, this one has a little bit more alcohol in it, more ink. Okay, I think this is working like Gamsol. I'm starting to spread around my my colored pencil a little bit. Which isn't bad, but yeah, let's just see how it goes here. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, but those waves are kind of a little bit more defined now. Okay. I still have, you know, white to go, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so that was the blue. Let's try a couple different greens in here and make it kind of a little bit more of an aqua colored color scheme down there. So I'm not coloring this whole thing in. What I'm doing is I'm coloring kind of the shadow areas. So anything that's kind of a little bit darker on the wave, the Seaside Cove stamp, that's what I'm aiming for at least, okay? Just in general. I mean, I'm not staying in, an exact area within the card, but just in general. Or not the card, but the image. Kind of adding a little bit more shadow for this island right here. You see that tinge of green in there? It's pretty cool. It's kind of hard to see sometimes, with this glare coming off the surface, but that's why you use this type of paper in this instance. I mean, we might as well kind of make use of the very, very reflective nature of this surface right here. So we had a lot of light kind of glaring back up at, us when we're working on it like that. But you see those forms in there? They almost kind of move like that with the light, don't they? Okay, I don't seem to be having any problem with a removal of the image. Okay, the image itself, the impression seems to be locked down pretty good, so it looks like I don't... Sorry about my reaching across here. I should bring my pens over here, but... Okay, this is a little bit of a deep brown here. That might be a little bit too much. I'll blend it out with some of this green here. I'll do it really quickly before it dries on me. So it's a little bit of a earthier green. Yeah, it blended out that brown just fine. So I guess you gotta hit it pretty fast. Okay, getting these rocks right up here. All right, let's try to anchor this form down a little bit harder. It has that deep shadow in there, but let's see if I can show you. See, it's relatively light in there. It's kind of interesting how that is really a dark black like that, but it doesn't extend out this way. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just the holographic thing. It's just stretching across. Okay, now it's on the other side. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's try a fairly, dark gray here for some shadows within my rocks next to the water. That's not really giving up too much tone. It looks very much a lot lighter than that when it's applied over the top of this very reflective surface here. But I'll try to hit some of my rocks and make them a little bit more dimensional. Add some of this down my water. How about a little of this under my waves? Interesting, the gray here seems to be kind of blending in that first blue a little bit easier. I don't know why. Or maybe it was just my imagination, I'm not sure. Okay, some of these rocks down here, giving a little bit more mass and volume. All right, got that. Now let me try to go back in here. One of the things that occurred to me when I was working this piece right here is I thought that maybe some of the colored pencils were adhering to some of my alcohol inks better than they were the spray fixative on foil. And I think, yeah, these colored pencils are adhering pretty good. I don't know why, but that alcohol, you wouldn't think it is creating a textural base for colored pencils, or whatever you need to apply on them, but it seems to be more textured than just straight spray fixative, I guess. So just working my shadows right now. Okay. Something like that. It looks like that. See that right there? Not very interesting. A lot more interesting like that, huh, right? It's pretty fun being able to just color on this type of surface right here with this different media too, I'd have to say. Because you get the benefit of you know, the effects of the surface, you know, the holographic surface, but you get to use in a limited way, you know, media that we're familiar with using. Okay, so we're not having to use something too different from, you know, applying this on a cardstock. Now, I mean, the feeling's different. We're more limited. You know, it's not applying the way that it would on, you know, a more absorbent surface. But I don't know. It's not too bad, I think. Like that. Okay, so I'm tempted to give this a moon up here, but I think that looks like a sunset or something. I don't know how to do it, so I don't think if I add something white up here in terms of my light source, I would be able to use kind of lighting down here on tops of you know, my waves. I think, but just I don't know, to give it a little bit more interest, I think it, you know, let's take a look and let's see what, you know, what some of this white would look like in here. It could stabilize the scene a little bit from just a very, you know, malleable visual here. You know, it's just like it's just changing around with any type of you know, change of light that it comes across. You know, so in other words, I'm just adding a little bit of white down here. You can see it right there, okay? What I'm adding. See, that's not going to change so much. So sometimes I feel that I need to just anchor the surface down a little bit more than what it is inherently with white media. Okay, so white pigment ink, some highlights or something like that. Maybe some stars in the sky. This could be a twilight type of scene, you know, with the first stars coming out. Okay, so I'm just adding this right across some of these more prominent waves coming in. They're a little bit lighter. They have that little spindrift coming off the top in the illustration, the way I drew it. Some splashing waves around some rocks here. This is a very dry, very light application of this, so okay, you see it like that. You can't really see it like that because it's like light, white on light, but you can see it right in here where those waves are kind of rolling in like that. See that? All right, so this is going to be a keeper for me in terms of a technique, you know, just stamping out our imagery. Solvent ink on whatever color foil, spray sealing with workable fixative. You might be able to go in with just any kind of fixative. I don't know if it has to be workable. Well, probably for the colored pencil, you know, because the other fixatives are very smooth and glossy, and you know what I mean. That's not something that it's easy to draw on top of with something like a hard medium, like colored pencils or graphite or something of that sort. I might, maybe, I don't know. Give it a try. Okay, so there's those waves kind of rolling in like that. Look at that. It looks like going into nighttime. Here's a sunset twilight or something like that. And it changes into nighttime. That's one thing about the holographics, right? You get a lot of different types of looks in one surface. So you have night and day, or I don't know, maybe not day, but in this one, it's like I don't know, like I said, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's more twilight into the night or something like that. Okay, I'm adding a little bit of this white down here. Alright, just to have a little bit of this kind of glowing light down here. It's very faint. Let me see if I can even show it to you. I don't know if I can find an angle for you. Okay, right there. See that little bit of halo of a glow right there. It's subtle, for sure. Okay, so I want to go back into this. Let's go with the white paint pen first, I guess. Okay, I'm going to hit some of these tops of the waves with this. Okay, kind of vary your application of it. Have a few here and there. A couple dots over here. A little bit more over here in the splashing, crashing wave. And it'll look more natural that way. You kind of have to work against, I don't know, kind of tendencies. I know I do, and I find that most people, they apply like the exact same amount. I don't know, we're just used to kind of doing like a pattern, I think. Like you saw on some of these going back in the distance, I just have like a couple little dots on them. Okay, so this looks like that. All right. It's almost too much. That really stands out a lot. I'll tone it down a little bit with a alcohol pen. You can color your dots if they're a little bit too extreme. All right, now I'm going to add, let's add some stars up here. I'll do a little bit of a constellation. I think the Perseid meteor shower is this weekend. I used to go out to Joshua Tree once in a while to watch that Joshua Tree National Park, to watch the shooting stars. Get away from the city lights. All right, so there's some stars up there. See, that kind of stabilizes things up there. Okay, so I made things a little bit too bright down here, so I'm going to tone out some of those white paint pen dots down here. I'll do it with a gray, very light gray alcohol pen. Okay, I'm just going to tone them out a little bit. So I'm coloring. You saw I have little gray little dots. I could have used, you know, another color of, you know, instead of white, which is like the most extreme. Yeah, let's see. Let's soften it up now too a little bit. And plus I want to make a couple of those stars kind of glow. So you go back in with your Q-tip here, blot it off a little bit. You don't want to apply a big slathering it of it in there. Yeah, some of it dried a little bit lighter looking, or darker looking, I should say. So it's good to add an additional layer if needed anyway. Okay. Now, all right, so see those kind of glowing little reflected light down there. Now let's make some of these stars glow a little bit more too. Just a tiny little dab of this. I noticed people starting to do this on their pieces, which I thought was cool because it really adds some variation into their pieces. And it looks like a little bit of a glowing light up there in the sky, like about like so. Alright, now what we'll do is we'll go back in, StazOn ink right over the top, and add our foreground in here. I really like this combination. I think it looks pretty cool. It's super easy to do too. It's kind of a minimal type of approach. Less isn't more, but less is kind of better, I think, here in this case. Not adding just too much stuff going on. I mean, we're kind of limited anyway in terms of what we can add maybe effectively in here, because that background paper is already really, really loud, okay? And a lot of times I tone it down more than this in other types of techniques, but I'm just, I don't know, I'm letting the paper be what it is in the degree that it is on this one, just because of the use of the alcohol pens being what they are. Okay, let's add a little bit of texture down here too. I seem to be always using my tiny rocks stamp these days for a more effective range of textures on my scenes. It's kind of a toning device too. You can add a dense area of them and have it just read as kind of shade right in there. All right, let's take a look at this right here. It's like glowing little highlights down there. I think my highlights down there are still a little bit light. Let's tone some of those out a little bit. Let's do it with the blue here. Okay, so this is a little bit of a blue. It's a light blue pen, but let me go. Some of that that white is a little bit strong in here, I think. I'll just go over the top of that white a little bit with this. Let's see. I'm not sure if it'll tone it down or not. We'll see. I don't want to lighten it up too much, so I'm trying to hit, you know, some of those dots that I've, you know, that are white in there. Being that I added some blue down there, what I'll do is I'll add a couple of these in blue up top here as well for textural and color continuity between that lower area, okay? I don't know if you can see those blue ones up there. A little bit different looking than the white. All of my stars are a little bit too evenly spaced up there. Let's try to cluster some and do the isolated star too. All right, so I see that right there. Yeah, those down there look a little bit more bluish in tinge like that, which I kind of like. And here comes the, oh, there goes the, Northern Lights or something like that. Not really Northern Lights on the horizon, but it looks like a time-lapse photography, doesn't it, going from different times of day. There's like nighttime right there. Oh yeah, another thing I was going to do was stamp out my sailboat in here. Careful when stamping on top of your non-porous, very slippery, slick foils. Not as slippery as it is just bare, but with the workable fixative on top, it gives it a little bit more texture. So you can get a nice, even impression like that. Here's our little sailboat right here. Like that. Right in its own little private cove for the night. All right, let's see if we can format this into a card, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, a little bit of just some, basic mounting here. I'm going to stamp a word stamp here. It occurred to me that a word stamp in the sky might serve to kind of stabilize things. I'm going to do this in the Brilliance White, and I'll need to spray seal the whole thing again, just with one more coat. But let's take a look and see how this looks here. But when you get that changing kind of holographic patterning in the background for scenes, sometimes you need, like I said, those kind of stabilizing elements in here. In this case, the stars down here and this little mist or spindrift coming off the water like that. Sometimes that can really help out. So we have our dream like that. I think I stamped it a little bit crooked. I'm looking at that now. Let's see here. Let's do that again. Sometimes people are afraid of some of the techniques that I use, but a lot of the techniques that I use, like, it can't be kind of more user-friendly than what I do, because I kind of develop my color schemes so slowly and kind of methodically, that there's hardly anything that can go wrong. Unless you just don't look at what you're doing during the time. And in this case, a lot of times, like on these foils, if you don't like something, just wipe it off. Okay, here I'm using the correct side of my block here, where I can see a little bit more. That one I stamped a little bit low too. Let's stamp it up a little bit higher. Let me see. Yeah, the other one I thought about was dusk. But then I thought, yeah, that limits it, because this scene right here, it looks like both dusk, twilight, dawn, and kind of, I don't know about everything in the middle, but a lot of it. Okay, let me see. I can't see it that way. Let me do it this way. I can see where I'm stamping a little bit easier this way. Really? Oh, the D's a little bit higher. Okay, maybe I will have to do it this way. Makes an argument for a stamp positioner. Instead of just eyeballing. Perfect. Who needs a stamp positioner? Oh, there we go. See that the dream right there? It kind of becomes like another layer or dimension in there too, because it looks like it's in front of the stars. But we get the look like this right here. I don't know, whatever time of day that is. And then it slowly transitions here into night, like that. And look at those, look at that twilight light like that with those greens. And it's, I don't know, it's like turning back to like that. I don't know, it's like the sun's coming over, something like that. But anyways, here we go. Some of this down here is a little bit extreme again. Maybe, you know, been better with a little bit less light. Let me just try something right here. I'll just rub some of that white off with my finger like this. Like something like that. Yeah, a little bit better. Because I didn't seal it yet, so I'll spray seal this down here. And this card will be finished. But anyways, that is the technique right there. Let's see these waves down here. You can see where I've kind of, there's a little bit more darkness underneath those waves like that. So when we're looking at like that, it gives them a little bit more volume rather than just the holographic patterning just kind of dominating everything where you can't really see the image at all. Okay, here I'm going to come in here with a little bit more black underneath. It's applying to an extent. I might have dug through some of the spray fixative that, you know, that's been laid down on there, and I'm just going on bare foil here. It's okay. Yeah, okay, it's applying in some areas right there. So just kind of anchoring down that seaside cove a little bit more. See that right there? And so we can see the seaside cove. I mean, the white definitely helps too, and those highlights on there. But, you know, otherwise, see, it would just look like this up here without all this kind of additional toning here with the alcohol inks and colored pencil. I can probably come in there a little bit more aggressively with the alcohol inks and then blend them around a little bit, but I'll do that. If I keep doing this process, I'll get a little bit more gutsy with my applications of media on here, but I just wanted to see how it would work, or if it could work at all, and if it could work better than the process that I tried last night. So potentially so. This one's more minimal. I really had to work that one last night to get a lot more of the colors and everything like that stabilized, but this is just much more of a simple process and more enjoyable, you know what I mean? Well, yesterday I was just trying to make things, give it some semblance of a, you know, a decently finished piece. But on here, I don't know, this is looking pretty good. And this one's, of course, using the holographic, which kind of adds, you know, an entire other element into it, but I think really appropriate for this scene right here with the horizon types of color changes up in the sky and then reflected down in the water. So fun stuff to do. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoy these videos, please hit the like button, make a comment, and if you feel so inclined to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching.